Alrighty, welcome in, fellas. Welcome back. Short week this week. Seth Smith, Danny Espinoza, Garrett Smith. How we doing, guys? How's your shortened week treating you?
Awesome. Love it.
What have you been up to? What are you guys up to?
Same stuff. I was just still lifting, hitting, trying to get ready for whenever this season is opened up, and went for another mountain bike ride. Didn't fall this time, so I was pretty happy.
I heard you smashed everyone though,
Progress.
right? You were out in front.
Did better. Did a lot better this time. I did better, stronger ride for me for sure.
Week by week. There it is.
Yeah, weeks going good, man. Short weeks are always fun. It always makes the next week following so much harder because you're like, damn, it's one day longer.
Yeah.
But no, doing well. Hopefully getting on a ride today, and you guys will both be happy. I bought some clipless shoes, so
it's
I'm gonna be making the transition pretty soon here.
You're in.
Actually went around the block yesterday. I gave it a little shot. It was great. And Danny, you were mentioning hitting and all that. Dude, my softball gig's coming right back up next week. I go to Yuma for a tournament. So
can't keep the league down that long, baby.
No.
There's beers to be drank.
Setting up the tee and the soft toss net today. I'll be taking some hacks.
Look at that. That is awesome.
Nice.
I did not get any swings in this week, fellas. I did get myself in the water though. Went kayaking. That was awesome. My neighbor just bought a kayak, paddle, all kinds of stuff. It's a tandem. Took that bad boy out, and yeah, it was awesome. Cut up my feet. Trying to get it in the water. So yeah, it was off to a good start. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Some water shoes, bro.
I know. That's the next investment for sure.
Shout out to Olakai. I got a pair of those. Those things are awesome.
Olakai, huh? I'll have to check them out.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
I'll look into that. Well, sweet. We'll get to the interview with Aaron Barrett shortly. Pretty awesome to have him on the air. Myself and Danny having a chance to know him prior to this interview. Garrett, you getting the chance to meet him for the first time, but I think you can see why he's such a favorite for so many people. He was just so easy to talk to, funny, just a good aura about him for sure.
Everything you're saying right there, I actually made notes. I was going to bring it up. You guys clearly have that relationship set with him already, and it was, it's very evident when you guys were all chatting about. But, it's easy to see why. The guy is super, super rad guy. Made me feel real comfortable, and we can talk just like you guys were, I can understand why he's such a big part of clubhouse environment and such a good guy to have around as a teammate and a friend. So
yeah, he's a great guy. He's almost overly nice, non-confrontational person, just a great guy, and just you can tell in the interview he won't give himself too much credit, or he won't say anything bad or nothing. He's just, from what I remember playing with him, is just, awesome. One of the best guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
And to that point too, like it's very understandable. Once you guys hear the story, it's very understandable why so many pulled for him. Why so many people were rooting for him and on his side to get him. Whether it's teammates, coaches, or just fans, the story it's a very fascinating story, and and excited for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, it's boy, what a journey he's been on from his college days to professional career and now currently. So we're stoked for you guys to tune in and check it out. And right now we'll send it to the interview with World Series champion Aaron Barrett. All right, hello, welcome in. Connected by Seams, big day here for us with the podcast crew. First time for everything, and today first time for us having a World Series champion joining us, a member of the 2019 Washington Nationals, Aaron Barrett. Aaron, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Great, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it. A little bit about Aaron, as mentioned, 2019 World Series champ with the Nationals, pitched in nearly 100 games, 93, if I'm not mistaken. Also knows our man Danny.
Let's introduce this guy. We'll introduce Aaron Barrett. Aaron Barrett is a guy who
throws in the upper 90s, went to a terrible college, and had a
Leave it there.
and had a terrible idea to shave his beard. That was the worst decision of all. Not to go to college where he went, nothing else, but to shave that beard was the worst idea you've ever had.
I'm not working, so I decided to shave
We're all
it.
out of work.
And
True
as soon-
backstory on Barrett. Came up when I was in the big leagues when I was there in Washington. You know, did really well for us. Came down with arm injury. Had Tommy John, was rehabbing. Somehow has bones that are made of steel or something. I don't know. Never heard of anybody drilling through bone and breaking drill bits in someone's arm. And then, took a long journey to get back to the big leagues, fighting through his rehabs and setbacks and breaking his arm after he had Tommy John. To a point where I'll guarantee you 99% of baseball players would have given up. 99% of any league that had this type of injury or setback would have given up. And he didn't, was sent to AA, was there with Seth.
Yes, sir.
Seth was able to watch it all and was able to recapture his dream and be back in the big leagues and then win a World Series.
I think that version was a little bit better.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I mean, it's almost like if you would have told me 4 years ago that was going to be the end result, I would have laughed in your face. I mean, I also was part of that 99% that was pretty close to giving up, and just found a way to never stop believing, and and we'll get more into that as we go through this. But
Well, no, it's a remarkable story, and like you said, we'll get into it as we go along here, and we'll just start kind of with your college days. Started as a junior college guy, went to Wabash Valley, and then to Ole Miss. I know you have huge pride in being a Rebel, and I mean, arguably, depending on who you ask, one of the best environments to play in front of, etc. If you want to just elaborate on that.
The best. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything that sticks out, or just kind of talk about your college days at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, going to junior college for 2 years was really, really tough, and then you kind of grind through those 2 years, and I was fortunate enough to go to Mississippi for 2, and you just kind of get the best of everything. Obviously, Danny wouldn't know anything about this, but the SEC is for sure the most talented.
Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
Hold on.
Starting early.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get through this.
We're one question in.
Bad idea.
He's gonna name drop. I already know.
Yeah, but do I need to? I think the world knows. Maybe
The world
you should,
does
so
know.
you can give us an idea outside of Aaron Barrett. Give me an idea.
Ole Miss guys.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the answer. No disrespect to anybody out who went to Miss, went there, and all the big leaguers that went there. Just joking.
That's not true. Drew
It's not.
Pomeranz, Lance Lynn, Zach Cozart.
Very good ball players, all very good ball players, guys I played with and played against. That I agree, very good, very very good.
It will not compare to your list. I know that. I'm just talking trash.
We have an extensive one.
You do. It's honestly probably the most impressive list of any college baseball team, to be honest with
Ooh,
you.
I'm gonna go out with
Maybe
USC.
Arizona. Oh, USC. I was thinking maybe Arizona State has a good one too.
Because Barry Bonds went there.
The ASU.
Yeah, is that why you said that?
No, I was thinking what was that team? I'm thinking about the team that went to. Was that 2008?
Georgia?
Was it Mike Leake and?
Oh yeah. God, I can't think of who was on that team, but yeah, it was a good team. Oh, it was Ike Davis and Brett Wallace and
Yeah.
That's what it was.
yeah.
The Vanderbilt team back in the
Vanderbilt was good.
06.
07
maybe. Yeah, they had Minor, Price, Casey Weathers, who never made it, but Pedro Alvarez. Yeah,
You had
they're
Ryan
pretty good.
Flaherty.
That's right. Yeah.
Flash, shout out to Flash if you ever listen to this. One of the best guys I've ever met.
Were there any other schools a possibility for you, Aaron, or we just always set on Ole Miss?
No, I had visits lined up to. I took a visit to Louisville and Kentucky, and then I was going
Where
to
was
go
that?
out
Where'd
to
you take a visit to?
Louisville and
Louisville?
Kentucky. No, it's
For everybody who
Louisville.
wants to.
How do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky? Louisville or Louisville?
Louisville, like the Bats.
I'd say Louisville.
I would go Louisville.
But
Well,
you're talking with three
that's
California
3 out of
guys.
4.
I don't know.
I'm talking
you
to
guys
3
are-
people that know how to speak proper English.
Well, I'll tell you, all 3 of you are wrong because it's Frankfurt.
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
Just
Oh,
like that.
Barrett.
Big league
Okay.
move. Big league move
Yeah.
there. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate that.
I didn't know that because I didn't care.
It's Kentucky.
Well,
Must be-
after the
Go
glory
ahead.
days of Ole Miss, some people fortunate to get a call and drafted once. You got that call 4 times after getting drafted. What was it? 06, 08, 09, and then the Nationals finally 2010. You go in the 9th round. Just kind of talk about that day. We had Brandon Laird on. He had gotten drafted. It was his 2nd time he signed, and for you, 4th time. I mean, that's crazy. What has you kind of banking on yourself and going back to school and kind of trusting it's going to happen?
Well, my first time I got drafted was kind of back then in junior college. They had what's called draft and follow. So if a team drafted you, they could kind of follow you for 2 years, and they had your right, so they didn't have to redraft you, if that makes sense. But they got rid of that rule after my first year of JUCO. So it was one of those things where I was kind of wait and see. I needed to get bigger and stronger and blah blah blah. So they're just kind of follow me around, and so it was a late pick. And then my sophomore year, JUCO, the Twins picked me, and I was supposed to go high, but obviously with my commitment to Mississippi, I used that as leverage to try to drive up my asking price as high as I could, because I thought that, well, if I could pitch the way I know I'm capable of, and obviously pitching the SEC, best conference that there is, if I do that there, then I'll make my money regardless. And so I turned down a really good chunk of money to the Twins and decided to go get further my education and go have a great time at Ole Miss. And obviously it didn't work out my junior year. I actually got shelled in I was a Friday night starter my first 5 starts, and it just didn't go very well. Just didn't do well. I finished strong out of the bullpen, still got drafted. Just again, like I said, I turned down a lot of money in the first place, and I knew ultimately that the money was in the big leagues. So signing after my junior year wasn't gonna, get it done for me. So I decided to go back for my senior year. Ultimately met my wife, finished getting my degree, and had a great time. And obviously it worked out going in the 9th round as a senior. Didn't get the money,
Pretty
but
good.
at the end of the day, I knew that the money was ultimately going to be in the big leagues, and it worked out.
Well, yeah, that day finally came. 2014 opening day roster, man. You make your debut on opening day against the Mets, pitching the 9th inning. You also earn the win. You checked about every box off you could all in one game. So that's a pretty cool journey.
Going from, hey, that was my first ever big league spring training, so going to make the team, to 2 days later go to New York City. Holy cow, you're in the big leagues. Like, what's going on? Opening days happened, and they called down the 7th. We were losing, and I started warming up. Then we tied the game, so they were like, "Hey, sit down." So Storen went in, then Clipper went in the 8th. Then it was still tied in the 9th, because I was thinking debut might get a little kind of a cushion game, and nope. Not the case. Tie game, 9th. I'm like, all right, let's go. But I'll never forget that day, because Desi was playing short and LaRoche was playing first. and they both took time to, like, when I ran out there, they both took time to kind of calm me down and told me, hey, you only get one first big league debut, so just enjoy it, soak it all in, and have some fun. And I'll never forget that, like, because I was so, like, focused in, just trying to, not
Yeah.
screw it. I mean, so that was really cool that they allowed me to do that, and it went well. And obviously we scored in the next half, and I ended up getting a beer shower in the shower for getting my first win. I mean, amazing. That team was so fun. I mean, I had such great teammates on that team, including Danny.
That was the best one.
Hands down.
Did you guys click right away? Because sometimes, I mean, I don't know at the big league level, but as far as position players, pitchers, or was your locker near each other? How'd you guys kind of like?
No, we put him in the shitter.
I tried to stay out of everyone's way, just keep my head down, be a rookie, speak when you're spoken to. But Danny was always super friendly to me. Never had any issues. I'd always get beers for him on the plane, and
no, I was not. I would
For
never.
him or from him?
I know, no, from me. I would never, ever, and I never have, and to this day, I never have asked anybody to get me a beer.
that is true.
That is bullshit.
I know. That is true. Danny always got his own beers.
Yeah, he was awesome. I mean, like you said, when you're young, you just keep your head down and go about your business. But Aaron was well liked. A lot of the guys, he really, really brought him in. I don't know if it's kind of somewhat because he was goofy and he was so green, so green on everything that maybe that was part of it. But I mean, nobody had a single problem with him, and not just a single problem. Everyone liked him, so it was easy to want him on the team out of spring training, and it was easy to root for him to have success.
Did he have a beard at that point, or was he clean shaven?
I was clean because I was in the minor league, so we weren't allowed to have facial hair. So I didn't know any better. I didn't start growing my facial hair until like the end of that year, and then that's kind of when the Bear mantra kind of, with the facial hair and all that stuff. And I definitely I do love my beard. I'm just not working right now, so I figured, hey, try to get some sun on this face, and then hopefully we'll get back to work. I'll grow it back out.
Which
Well,
is so funny.
I never understood why
Danny,
they called him a bear.
Well, it's just a nickname because it's short for Barrett. That's it.
I thought it was the whole claw thing because your hands were so little. It looked like a little bear claw grab a baseball.
That's also true too.
Well, that's in the fine print.
He used to throw a fastball with 4 fingers.
I have small hands. So it's true.
For everyone, if you didn't get it, it's not a lie.
I was in the Burger King commercial. I mean,
I got these hands.
Yes, 100%.
Well, you became a mainstay that year in 14, and then unfortunately ran into some injuries. Tommy John in September of 2015, and then on top of that, you're rehabbing in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And what was it? You fractured the humerus bone in your right arm, right? Same arm, fractured the humerus bone, needed 2 plates, 16 screws. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. What happened? You were just playing catch? Were you throwing aside because you were rehabbing? So how much were you doing as was it structured, or just kind of freak thing?
No, it was I still don't have an answer to how or why. When it happened, they're labeling it just one of the freakiest things ever to happen on a baseball field. I was 1 week away from starting my big league rehab assignment. So I was probably close to three, maybe 4 weeks to getting back to DC, and Ross was going to expand in September, and the plan was going to be back in the big leagues. But it just was a 1 inning 20 pitch sim game and everything. I was feeling good, normal. Velo was back. I was throwing 94, 95 that day. And as on my 11th pitch, a four-seam fastball away, and as I was accelerating my arm forward, my arm literally snapped in half. And I don't remember where the ball went. The guy said the ball kind of went like up the fence. We had two guys puke in the dugout. That's how kind of nasty it was. Matt Latos is one of those guys.
Yeah, I was reading Dusty Baker took the video away and put it on a hard drive so no one could ever see it or something like that.
Because it was so gruesome. And obviously I was screaming. I went into shock, and the video, I guess, is not one for the weak stomach, and so they locked it up, put it on a hard drive, and said no one's ever gonna watch this.
Well, a quote straight from the article I was reading: Barrett underwent surgery performed by Dr. James Andrews, which left 2 plates and 16 screws embedded in the bone of his arm. Andrews later compared the fracture to the kind of traumatic injury he would expect to see from a car crash victim. And this happened on a baseball field. That is, I've never heard anything about that. And it kind of just adds to what makes your story even more remarkable, and why, if you didn't understand the 99%, I hope you do now. I mean, that's unreal, man.
When the doctor came in and you went in there, they reviewed you, what was your first reaction to him saying this is what needs to happen? I mean, 16 screws is pretty ridiculous, and I mean that's remarkable.
Honestly, they didn't have. Well, first off, I was so drugged up because I broke my arm on Friday, and I went to the ER on Friday, and Dr. Andrews doesn't operate on the weekend, so I had to wear it on Saturday. I had to wear it on Sunday, just fully loaded up on payment.
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Andrews. Don't want to mess up your schedule.
They don't make an exception for that?
don't want to get in the way of your schedule. My arm's hanging off backwards. Yeah. I'll just wait till Monday.
So it was terrible. So we drove up. We had to drive because I couldn't fly due to the pressure of the plane. So Danny remembers John Catrides, and he's our one of our rehab coordinators. Well, he and my wife basically drove up to Pensacola. It's about an 8-9 hour drive, and I'm just, again, I don't remember hardly any of it. I'm loaded up on pain meds. Get there on Sunday. Next thing you know, go literally prepare for surgery Monday morning. I get there 4 a.m. And Andrews, to go back to your question, Andrews didn't know what he was going to do. To my arm, they just basically, I know what they're going to do either. We just agreed that
something needs to be done.
they need to somehow fix it. So I know it was Dr. Andrews, 2 elbow and wrist specialists, 4 trauma surgeons, and then obviously the guy, 2 guys that handling all the hard. They literally had a full on
A squad.
Oh, it was, so the surgery is supposed to last about 4 hours. They predicted it lasted 6.5 because they get to the surgery part. What Danny was saying earlier, when they're drilling the screws in my bone, the drill bits were breaking off in my bone because my bone was so hard. So
you can't even do that with concrete.
They had
concrete
to replace,
doesn't shoot drill bits off that much.
Boy drank his milk.
They had to replace the drill bit all 16 times, 1 for each screw. So whoever the hardware company was, Stryker or whoever it was, they made absolute bank on my arm.
If you guys want to know a funny story about Aaron is that Aaron could throw strikes, okay?
But
what he couldn't do is intentionally walk somebody.
That's correct.
I do
So-
remember that. I do remember
So-
that.
Yep.
after we found that out, we next time come up, we're like, they want to intentionally walk. We're like, hold on, time out. We need to get to the mound and have a team meeting real quick. We're like, can we do this, or can you just throw? What if the catcher just goes in the other batter's box and you
That's
throw
what we
4
started doing.
balls? So we
That's what we
started
started doing.
intentionally, unintentionally walking people with him. Well, one time, I can still remember who was hitting him. He throws 2 balls in the other batter's box. The umpire calls it a strike. I mean, he's trying to walk him, and literally striking. I remember the batter looking back like, "You're kidding me!" Like I'm not talking white line. I'm talking in the batter's box balls.
Oh, God.
Not even close.
Not even close. And he's like, it's 2-2, and our dugout's like, guys, throw it in the other batter's box. It's like, it is. He did throw it in the other batter's
up on your
box.
pain meds.
But
You remember-
Barrett ended up getting him out.
He
He was
swung.
supposed to intentionally. He
Swung.
ended up swinging. He had to. He had to cover a 14-foot plate.
Yeah.
He swung and popped out to Rendon in foul territory. And I just remember walking in, and Williams was so mad. He was so mad at me because I didn't walk him.
Yeah, and he just
I was like-
he couldn't.
I'm like, it's not my fault. It's 2 balls.
Yeah, they're in the other batter's
Watch
box.
the video.
Wow, well, quite the ride for Aaron Barrett from his days at Ole Miss, going all the way to his opening day roster, the injury, having to wait till Monday for Dr. Andrews, all kinds of things in that first half of the interview from Aaron Barrett. Pretty wild stuff. But fellas, we'll dive in. But for me, I mean, opening day, he makes the roster finally. He does it on opening day, gets his MLB debut, first win, checks it all off the box there, as mentioned in the interview. And Danny, you got to be there firsthand. If you want to kind of just talk about what that's like and your experiences with Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, he came into camp. To be completely honest, I don't know if any of the older guys knew him that well. It was his first big league camp. He comes into camp, he does well, and ended up, I think a lot of us were rooting for him because we started seeing him pitch in spring training, and we're going, okay, this guy can really help us. And so he comes out of the manager's office back into the locker room in spring training and tells us that he made the team, and it was just, everyone was happy for him. And,
That's awesome.
you root for a guy like Aaron, even prior to his injury. He's a good guy. He did everything right as far as a young guy in spring training, staying quiet, not being in the way, which to a lot of veterans is a big deal. They don't want to hear a young guy's voice. They don't want to hear your stories from high school. They don't care. We're in a bigger stage, and Aaron is just such a good dude, and everyone was so supportive of him. And to see that first day, I can remember that first day when he got that win, and it was kind of funny because everyone was joking. It was like, just that easy, huh? You just come in, your first game, big game, get your win. You get your debut, you get a win.
No big deal.
It's just like how
did
did
it all.
everything happen at West. But pretty cool. It was awesome. Great guy. And I'm so happy to see him back in the big leagues. And then to win the World Series, obviously, is, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on his first day, and him telling the story about Ian Desmond and Adam LaRoche coming over and pulling that veteran status, and letting them take in the moment, understanding what it meant, and to never forget that, and help him to relax his nerves and get him through that day. And I think that's awesome to hear. I mean, Danny, you knew both of those guys well, and I've always heard in the baseball world that those two guys know what they're doing. They're big league guys.
Yeah, they're both great. They're both great guys. Adam, one of the best people you can ever meet in your life. Genuine person.
Absolutely.
Ian's still one of my good friends who I talk to probably weekly.
Wow.
Yeah, and for both of them to do that for him on opening day, just all that adrenaline, and I think I thought that was really cool. And
Yeah.
just the overall story for him to get to that point. I mean, drafted 4 times. I mean, 4 times. That's ridiculous. And most
Yeah.
people maybe get drafted twice. They jump on that opportunity the second time because they're like, well, shit, it's now or never. He got
Right.
drafted 4 times. Like it's got to be a record there.
Yeah, he's betting on himself there for sure. You know, not having
Yeah.
come out bad year, whatever the situation was, whether it was more money, whatever it was, he's betting on himself to come out the next year and do it again or have a better year.
Yeah, he mentioned he was multiple of those years he got shelled. It was not good. So to not even take that is crazy, but it just goes back to his mental strength. You know what I mean? Like that takes a lot to say, shoot, maybe I'm not good enough right now. I should go back and do this, do that, no matter if you're getting drafted in the whatever round you are, you know?
Probably because he was
Shows
just so
that
tied
God-
into Ole Miss, he didn't want to leave school.
Yeah. Hey, I think we all heard his love for the Rebs and the SEC. That was a pretty good debate. But we should write down the Long Beach State alum. I think you have, like you said, a lot of people beat there. But it was cool. It's cool to hear the banter.
It took him a minute to rattle off some names from his own school. So hearing that
they were good names. They were good names.
They were good names.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. No, it was cool. But yeah, I like that part too of LaRoche and Desmond doing that for him, especially it obviously ingrained enough to he did it for his second comeback. You know what I mean? He still remembered it, still had everything in mind, and was able to go back to that moment. So it just kind of shows how much that touched on him, which is cool, pretty cool. But we don't want to give away too much more, so we'll get back to the rest of the interview, hear the rest of the overall journey of Aaron Barrett. All right, so as you're going through rehab, you've gone through the whole 2 plates, 16 screws, you finally make it out, finally get back on the mound. You've gone through the struggle of, I'm sure, everyday struggle of telling yourself you can do it and get back, and finally you appear in your first professional game since 2015. In June of 2018, struck out 3 batters. Boy, how good did that feel getting back?
So of all my entire minor league career, I've spent more time in short season and double A than anywhere else.
Really?
Yeah, I went to short season 3 times.
Jesus. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, first year I sucked, so I had to go back. And then obviously going back as a 30-year-old, that wasn't ideal, but I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, it's rehab.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, it was something I didn't think was ever going to happen. Obviously, I mean, it took I couldn't throw a ball until my bone healed, so it took a whole year for the bone to heal. So, yeah, just get back in that competitive atmosphere again. Again, because I just didn't know if it was ever going to happen. It was just a lot of fun.
Was there anything in the back of your mind that was like, oh God, what if something does happen? Like, what how do you overcome that kind of mystery?
Mental side of it.
Yeah.
That's a good question. The mental side for sure was, I mean, obviously, as you guys know, baseball, the mental side is so important and probably more grueling than the physical side. But my mental side of it was once I finally got to a place where I knew that my arm was completely healed. I knew that you're not going to break it again. I mean, and I basically had to tell myself, listen, if you have Tommy John again, or if you throw a ball and you break your arm again, like you're done. That's it. They told me if I were to do that, if I break my arm again, I will never be able to throw a baseball, and I'll never be able to have normal functionality of my arm. So that was super scary, obviously, and I had to get over that. But I also knew, well, shit, if I get to a certain point in my rehab and I believe in it and I trust it, my arm is basically like indestructible. As long as I'm putting myself mechanically, and I had to readjust all my mechanics to make sure that the stress was being minimized. I had to make sure that I was getting in the right place. And once I got over that mentally, I mean, it took a long time. But I started believing in it and trusting it. And it just started getting better and better. But there were times where I would throw a pitch, or after the outing, my arm would just start to throb for no reason. And my brain was just telling me, don't do that. Like, because last time you threw, your arm broke. And I had to literally retrain my brain to tell myself that, I had to retrain how to throw a baseball again. I had to retrain my brain that, it's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the side that people forget is that thought process of, I mean, you want to believe you physically can do it, but you got to convince yourself mentally. So yeah, you had a couple of obstacles to hurdle there, to say the least. Was it something that was always, you were kind of told like, hey, like I want you to know, if you do get to where you want to, it's going to be nearly impossible. Like, were those kind of words that were said to you, et cetera, by doctors and those kind of people?
Yeah, I saw some doctors that, including myself, and trainers and people, no one's ever done this before. So yeah. I didn't have a protocol. I couldn't follow anybody. Like, there wasn't, where Tommy John is like, okay, you do this at month 1 or month 6 and go from there. We literally made up the whole thing because no one's ever done it.
Go off. Yeah.
So we just kind of like
waters for sure.
Yeah. So we just kind of, hey, you want to do this today? All right. That felt good. Okay. We'll figure it out the next day. It was crazy.
How'd you guys ice your arm? Do you guys have like dry ice? You just dip that bionic arm down there and just freeze like
it was like biofreeze in a spray
Do you have
paint
to
can.
ice anymore? Do you have to ice? Do you still have normal throwing pains?
It's all a little bit different. I do still ice. I contrast. I don't really ice. I definitely contrast more than anything if I were to ice. Yeah, it's different. It's definitely, I get soreness, but in places that obviously I didn't used to. So like one of my plates actually goes a little bit past my elbow joint on the outside. And so for a long time, I would get where the plate connects to the extensors on the outside of this right here on the outside. It just didn't feel right. I would just get shooting pains and just not normal. So like, obviously my elbow can only extend, like I can't even get full extension, and I never will, just because of the limitation of the plates and the screws. So it's all a little bit different, but it's like, it's a new normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I can't straighten my arm. I have that whole.
Yeah,
I don't have screws,
you got
but
monkey
like
arms.
yours
are for a different reason.
My arm goes about like if everyone can lay their arm down flat and go straight, mine's like at a 90-degree angle in comparison.
Yeah, Danny, you throw 100.
Yeah, I should have pitched. If I could throw 100, I should have pitched.
Danny's got a rocket.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like how do you treat? How do you treat a bionic arm in a sense? Like you said, there is no protocol to this. There's, they don't know what to do. They probably, it was, trial by error.
It really was. The laughing joke was, I put this giant WD-40 can in my locker. So, and one of the reporters actually came up to me and was like, hey,
oh my God.
I swear, you actually put that on your arm? I'm like, yeah, I do. And they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, no, you idiot.
Oh, you should have done a little test run and just spray it on. Like,
you should have shown him, like, I have a little hole in the back of my elbow. I can just, like, get the straw in there and it just lubes it up automatically. They would have believed it. There would have been a story in the Washington Post about it.
No, but hey, then you fast forward and you take all this into consideration. Last season in Harrisburg with the Senators, 31 saves, and then you get the message, probably the best one that you've received. The video went viral. If you haven't seen it, anyone listening, just search Aaron Barrett and it'll pop up. Manager Matt LeCroy. Boy, you could really just feel it in his heart, honestly, and just really see that he meant it. But him telling you in front of your teammates that you're going back to the big leagues, and so cool to see it. And shout out to the Senators putting that together as well. But man,
I had chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, just talk about that, man. Like again, go watch the video, everyone, because it's pretty dang special. If you can just kind of talk about that, man.
Yeah, I think it just kind of emotionally, kind of the last 4 years, obviously I've been through what I've been through, and you just kind of have this goal you set in mind. You know, you want to make it back, and I mean that's the whole point. That's why I'm doing it. Obviously, to make it back to the big leagues, and you know, I was actually a little bit disappointed that day because the rosters expanded on September 1st, and I was like, okay, I put myself in the best possible position. You know, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. It's fine, and it didn't happen. I was like, damn, like, all right, well, maybe after playoffs, you know, the AA playoffs, maybe it'll happen, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up. And September 3rd comes around, and we're just having a workout before we go. Was Bowie? We're going Bowie, yeah.
Bowie.
And then obviously you'll see on the video, kind of bring it up, and you know, my manager LeCroy, I had him as my AA manager back in 2013, and then he was our big league bullpen coach in 14 and 15 when I was there, and obviously my manager again last year. So for him to deliver the message was super. I mean, it was so just heartfelt, and I love him, and it was obviously a moment I'll never forget. I mean, just super emotional, and just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I have to admit, I knew about a little birdie in my ear had told me, and that was probably the hardest secret to have to keep, because I remember you all year, man, of just you had one goal in mind. You know, everything was to get back to the big leagues, and I think everyone knew that, teammate wise and staff, everyone that was around you on a daily basis definitely felt that, and I mean, it made it that much more special for sure.
Clearly, the Nationals had that in mind too, because they wanted it. They've held on to you. Like, look at the journey you went, and they've stuck with you. So that means something for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Full credit to them for even, you know, give me a chance to continue the rehab with them. Obviously, I know they felt terrible about what happened to my arm, and there was a lot of doubt. I think when we first started the rehab process, it was just kind of like, hey, let's just get his arm back to functioning, because it just felt so bad for what happening. And then, you know, we went through the process like, hey, let's try and throw. And it just, again, they were there every step of the way. And they've been a really, really great organization for me, and they just continue to give me an opportunity to get back. And yeah, I'm glad that I made it back with, you know, ultimately back with the Nationals to kind of complete the process, and just amazing.
I don't want you to discredit what you did. They did not do that. They did not put your time and heart and work into it. That was not them. That was you. That was you not giving up. Yes, thank you, Nationals, for treating Aaron Barrett so well. But don't anybody think that what he did was because of them. It was because he dedicated 4 or 5 years of not just playing. It wasn't playing. He dedicated 4 or 5 years of rehabbing to get back to where he had been.
Well said.
Thanks, Danny.
Well said.
For sure.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
All that hard work paid off when you got to put the Nationals uniform back on. You're in a big league clubhouse again. First appearance against the Braves, and you strike out Ronald Acuna on that devastating slider you're known for. And then again, another clip, you in the dugout, just letting it all out. Had you, I mean, how does that work? You don't know, scouting report, anything like that. Like, are you, when you're facing Ronald Acuna, like, how do you put that in fruition of like, you were in the bigs, now you've gotten back and you're facing a guy that's about to take over the big leagues, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we go through scouting reports, but it was one of those things where obviously I'm new to him. He's
Yeah.
new to me. And for my first game back, I wasn't
Everything's
worried about
aside,
strike
right?
zones.
Like you're
I was
just
trying to throw. I'd try to throw strikes. I mean, honestly, if you looked at my my first game back, it's kind of so. I actually warmed up in the first 3 games when I made. So I warmed up on the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And it was the kind of joke Danny is like, "Oh, Barrett's back, warming up every day." But it was one of those things where, finally I finally got my name called to go in, and I was just so nerves were just everywhere. Obviously, super emotional. I was just trying to lock it in, and obviously we're still in a playoff hunt, so we can't really necessarily throw away any games. So I also knew that in the back of my mind as well. But I was, when I get out there, the first guy I faced, I threw 4 straight balls. And I just remember getting on the back of the mound and go, dude, like, this is not it. Like, because let's go, So I just remember just trying to really try to slow the game down big time, taking huge, deep breaths. And now I'm facing Tehran, the next guy, which is the pitcher. And I'm like, all right. And I go 2-0 to Tehran. I'm like, are you, dude, let's go. Like, come on. I'm like, golly. And I finally throw a couple strikes over there, and he's trying to bunt, and he fouls it off in the foul territory, and Zim catches it. I remember telling him after the outing, like, Zim, you got to drop that and get my strikeout. But yeah, no, then facing Acuna, I think after I got that first out, kind of nerves, kind of like, okay, you're good.
that
And
pitcher spot might have been like your biggest blessing. You know what I mean?
I know. And then I went 3 pitches to Acuna, struck him out, and then got Albies on a changeup out front. And just, I just remember just walking off the mound, and it happened so fast, and I was trying to process it and take it all in, just kind of going back to my debut, remembering what Desi and Rochi told me. And this one just felt, not that my debut wasn't special, but this was just a different type of special, and I just remember all the countless hours and days and months and years of just, why are you doing this to yourself? There's so many dark days that I had, and it just all hit me at once. And like, you did it, man. Like, this is why you did it. And, I had so much love from all my teammates, and it was just super surreal. You dream of the moment, you picture it, you try to envision it, put yourself in that moment so that you know what to expect. And it was unlike anything that I could ever imagine. And that's where, you see the emotions just come out, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, you're 2 months from that call up to shoot. We go into the run, you guys into the playoffs. You're throwing out the first pitch. I mean, talk about just kind of the reception you got from the fans too, and how cool that is, and their appreciation for your hard work. I mean, like I said, the video went viral for many different reasons, but just the way kind of people responded to that was pretty cool to see.
No, it's definitely baseball. And being in the big leagues definitely gives you a special platform. And, I think a lot of people, no matter what walk of life you're going through, there's always going to be good times and bad times, and certain things you're going to be going through in life. And I just trying to take what I've gone through and try to apply it to other people, and tell them that, no matter what you're going through, you can do it no matter what. You keep your head down and just attack each day. You can literally do anything you set your mind to. You just have to go out there and believe it, and go do it. And so it was really neat to, obviously have the reception that I did, and being able to throw out the first pitch in wild card game. Never would have thought I'd ever do that in a million years. And I just kind of took that moment. I didn't know if I wanted to do it, because I didn't want to take away from someone. We have so many people that are deserving of it. And then I realized, if I can bring, I wasn't on the active roster, so if I can bring something to the table, I can try to get that crowd rolling as much as I can. Fired up. Why not?
Yeah.
So yeah, I went out there and
Do
obviously
you just black out during that moment? Like what? Like do you even see who? I don't even know who was catching you, but like, I mean, that's
LeCroy.
crazy. Well, no way.
Yeah, LeCroy came and caught
Oh
my
my
first pitch.
gosh!
That's awesome.
How do you even get it across the plate with
I
all
did.
the emotions,
I
man?
did. I did. I threw a ball. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, LeCroy surprised me and was behind home plate when I walked out. It was sick.
Wow.
No, it was so cool. I mean, it was hands down probably the loudest that I've heard Nats Park in a long, long time.
That's a heck of a start. And then you guys go on the run. You, as mentioned, now a 2019 World Series champion. How does that affect your off season? Are you more recognizable now? Or are you walking around town and people know who you are? Is that what's it
Is
No.
that
like?
why you shave the beard?
Yeah, incognito now, shave the beard.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
He's got an
No.
alias now in a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Danny Espinosa.
But are you busier? I
Don't do
mean,
that. No one will ever call for sure.
you joining shows like Connected by Seams. Like, dude, you got to be a busy guy, right?
Oh,
Everyone
you
wants
hit
to hear the
top
story.
spot. Absolutely.
No, it's just it's kind of it's really storybook, honestly. I mean, you just really can't make it up. I mean, again, if you were to tell me 5 years ago what was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed it. And just of all the years, to make it back this year, and then for the Nats to cap it off and win a World Series, and I'm able to obviously put a ring on my finger, like you can't make it up. You really can't. And I've been super blessed, and it's just amazing. It's been a heck of a ride and crazy.
How have you been handling the off season as far as with everything up in the air? Are you're training, you're throwing resume, someone in particular like yourself with the injury, you know what I mean? With the past, you obviously don't want to overdo it. How are you balancing that out to stay fresh?
Yeah, just honestly, just trying to treat it, not like I'm in season, but trying to maintain what you've gained in the off season, working out a few times a week and throwing some bullpens and just trying to keep your arm in shape. But you don't want to, in case we do go into a longer season, you're not trying to overdo it, because then you're pitching way more than you're supposed to be. So there's that balance of, not doing too much, but making sure you're staying ready in case the call comes and we have to leave tomorrow. So, but it's going well. I feel great. I think honestly, the time off for me has been almost a blessing, because I threw a bullpen on Game 7 of the World Series, which would have been October 30th or the 31st, whichever one it was. And this is the longest I've ever thrown in my entire career. And especially coming back from, obviously, my first real full season being healthy. I'd had such a short off season, I had to jump right back into it. And I don't think that my arm necessarily had that regular off season that I needed. So this time off has actually been really good for me to be able to strengthen up everything the way that I normally would for an off season. So I really hope we do play, because I feel really good. Ready to rock and roll.
Good news for you. You mentioned you met your wife at Ole Miss. What you got? Wife, kids? Tell us about the family life. Where are you at now? Georgia?
Yeah, I'm in Smyrna, Georgia. I'm actually about 5 minutes from the Braves Stadium, which was kind of actually full circle going back to the debut back. It's just wild that my game back was in Atlanta, and so like all my family and friends, everyone was staying at my house, and we just had a huge party. Obviously after the game, just again, you can't make it
You
up.
can't make that up.
It's truly a
No.
storybook ending, man. That is that's crazy.
Ending. It's a start.
Yeah, that's right. We're just getting started. But yeah, my wife, we met at Ole Miss. She played soccer there. She said that I chased her cleats, so
we'll go with that.
I probably agree with her. But yeah, met her. We have a beautiful daughter. She's 2.5 and just conquering the world right now. And we are expecting our first baby boy in September. So
Hey,
Congratulations.
congrats.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Sweet.
Yeah.
There it is. Well, fellas, do you have
So-
anything else for him?
Yeah, I mean, I knew a little bit about your story, but it's super inspirational. You should write a book. I think that Danny should narrate it on audio. And
100%.
no,
He would
I'm
be good.
happy to meet you.
I'm an inspirational speaker.
Thanks, man. It's nice meeting you too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and looking forward to what the future holds for you, and hopefully you guys get out there soon and get the season underway, because I'm jonesing for it, so I can only imagine what the players are feeling like. So
I hope we get something done too, because
I do too. We all want to see Major League Baseball back on TV.
Yep.
Mhm.
America needs it, and
Yep.
so hopefully we'll get something done.
Yep, I agree. I hope it gets done. I hope something gets done fair for you guys, and so we can see, the best players playing on TV again, so we can have something to enjoy again. I mean, it's best sport in the world, so can't wait for it to get done and be able to watch that on TV.
Same. I mean, there's just so many good SEC players to watch. In the business,
Jesus.
One last time.
I had to.
Well, shoot, I appreciate you coming on, Aaron. I appreciate you. Never really got to say a formal goodbye from Harrisburg. I left with
Big league the hell out of you.
I left with a couple of games left, but you sure made it fun to show up to the yard every day, man, whether you knew it or not. You made my job easier. I feel like if guys saw you doing something, they could buy into it. So I appreciate you. You are the ultimate pro, and thank you for all that, man. Thanks for joining us too.
That's what happens when you're 31 in AA.
Hey, you get it though. You didn't have to. But we appreciate it, man. It was
no, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Holler if you ever need anything.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good luck moving forward, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
See ya.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Aaron.
See you, Danny.
Thanks, Aaron.
See you, bro. Later, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
So we hear the wrap-up interview there with World Series champion Aaron Barrett, who makes it all the way onto that stage and that platform and goes through his entire journey to get where he is now. And it's a remarkable story. And I think everyone, as we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, really kind of gets to see his personality, his mental strength, his not just what he can do on the field. We obviously know what he can do on the mound. But just what he can overcome is the adversity, the struggles, the being told you can't do something or it's nearly impossible is pretty crazy. And it sounds so cliche when you hear people say, and you hear him mention, you can do anything. You just have to put your mind to it and believe you can do it and blah, blah, blah. And he's literally walking proof of that. I mean, come on, for nearly about 4 years of rehab, of just telling yourself, you have one goal in mind. You can do this. You can do that. So for me, I thought that was wild, man, to overcome all that. And I think we all kind of felt the same way about that side of Aaron Barrett.
Yeah, for sure.
And to touch on what you're saying, like the drive and determination to make it back to the big leagues, and just to that moment when he is there and he's finally in his comfortable zone, he's where he belongs, and something that he can now take forward and build off of. He doesn't have to go through all of that rehab, hopefully not again, but he doesn't have to look at, oh, I'm going to rehab tomorrow, I'm going to rehab. Now it's, I'm going to the big leagues, I'm going to progress in my future and make my indent in the MLB. So no, I think that you're absolutely right. The adversity that he overtook and conquered, I mean, it's second to none for sure. And I said it in the interview, but dude should write a book, like something that he should put out there, where just telling his story, if anything, not necessarily like a motivational speaker type book, but just
to get it out
tell
there,
the story and show people, like, this is what I did and I made it. Like, if I could do this, who knows what you can do, like just something that's out there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's part of what we're doing on this podcast too, is to tell people stories, to tell people, these people that are at the top of their game, whether it's sports or in any industry, it's not easy. You don't just walk through from getting drafted to the big leagues and it's just peachy from there on out, because that's not how it is, and that's not how it is for a lot of people in many different jobs. But to wrap up kind of what you guys were saying, he gives a lot of credit to Washington, and I know I was a little combative in him doing that, and I wasn't saying that the Nationals didn't do him anything. Like, yeah, they gave him the opportunity, but when he was trying to say that it's like that he almost didn't want to give himself the credit for what he did.
He was very
He's
Aaron
the one
Barrett
who
on
woke
that
up
part.
He's the one that woke up every morning and said, I got to get up and go to rehab. He's the one that said, I'm going to continue my career. He's the one that put in all these hours, went back to short season, went back to A-ball, was 31 in Double-A after being in the big leagues. Like, I'm sorry, you don't wake up and like have a smile on your face to be in A-ball again after you've been in the big leagues for years, you know? So, yes, you know, the organizations, they do give players opportunities to come back from injury. They do give the opportunity to be in the big leagues. But in a case like this, you know, you look like someone like this, you look at Johnny Venters, who's had, you know, 3 Tommy Johns. Then that's them. That's their determination. That's their will that wakes them up every morning and says, I'm going to get back on that field. That's a lot harder. That's probably harder than the actual rehab part. The rehab part, yeah, you know, you got to go through that regardless. But the mental side of having to get up every day and be like, here we go again, not knowing if it's going to work, not knowing if anything's going to work. That,
the
to
unknown
me,
part is bizarre.
I want him to have, you know, people to give him that credit, and he needs to give himself that credit to have, you know, having done that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree. It was well said. And going back to Johnny Venters and kind of his story, Aaron and Johnny were both in Harrisburg at some point. I forget. Johnny was there for a couple weeks after the Nats brought him on. But between those two, I mean, unbelievable, just the amount that both those guys overcame and
Imagine
had
the
to
doctor
deal with.
bills between the two of them.
Yeah, crazy.
God, what if you could put that into one arm?
Right?
All the stuff that's gone into both of those arms.
As he mentioned, he was just breaking the drill bit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just stuff that's the whole thing about it is just freaky. You know what I mean? From
they couldn't use like the diamond cut ones. Like, better drill bit. Like,
crazy.
You have to grab the one out of your garage that you wore out.
But it was pretty cool to really see his story and that video kind of take off and go viral, and see him get to throw out that first pitch. And like he said, that's a wild card game. You can get anyone out there. You know what I mean? Yep. But to choose him, and he's in uniform, and I mean, he's just out there, hands up. I just couldn't imagine what that feeling is like. So.
And his coach being the catcher. Like, I mean.
And Danny, I don't know if you know LeCroy, but my goodness, he is. I don't know if you.
LeCroy is one of the most. I don't know
if you say a bad thing about him.
Yeah, between Adam LaRoche, Barrett, and LeCroy, I mean, 3 of probably the most genuine people you'll ever meet. LeCroy was a coach in the minor leagues when I was young. I want to say in 13, it had to have been 13. 13, he became our bullpen coach, and it was awesome to have him on our team. I never got to play for him as him being my manager in the minors or anything, but to be with him for 13 and 14 during those seasons, I mean, great guy. Just one of the biggest hearts you'll ever meet. One of the best.
Yeah.
I think, is he a SEC guy or
he's a Clemson guy?
Oh, is that ACC?
ACC, yeah.
Brutal.
But he'll swear by him.
Those are both bad.
Yeah.
SEC, ACC.
No, he was awesome.
Out to the West Coast and play some real baseball.
Yeah. Speaking of West Coast, I'll never forget that time. It was us two. It was one of the first times I was watching BP by on the field and by the cage, and he was asking me where I was from, and I told him, I said, yeah, he was like, oh, you're an Angel fan? I told him, family season seats, go to games. And I brought up, I remember seeing you in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, that damn rally monkey, man. I tell you what, So for us people here on the West Coast, I'm sure we can appreciate that. I guess the rally monkey really did work.
Don't look into the monkey's eyes.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious that he brought that up. But no, it was, and for all that to come full circle, like you mentioned, Lee Croy catching that first pitch, and that's a huge moment for both of them. I mean,
Yeah.
he was there along the ride with Aaron, so pretty cool stuff. Final thoughts for you guys before we wrap this thing up?
Just if anyone that's listening, just go do your thing. Don't give up. It's and there's plenty of people that'll tell you to stop, to not follow your dreams, or not to. So you go out, do your thing, take care of your business. If you got a dream, go after it. Go after it wholeheartedly. Commit your life to it.
I couldn't agree more with what Danny was just saying there. I mean, especially in times like now, with everything going on in the world, like a lot of dreams are put on hold or might not be available anymore. But for you to just keep your focus, if it's something you want, something you love, I mean, your mind can do crazy things. So and put you into the right positions that you need to be, and keep going forward.
Well said, fellas. Perfect end to a awesome story that we hope to share and get out there with a lot of people, motivating stuff, and just a good story to tell about a good person. So that does it here for Connected by Seams. Thanks again for tuning in to episode 2. We hope you enjoyed our chat with World Series champion Aaron Barrett. A reminder, you can now check us out on Twitter at CBS Pods, Instagram at CBS_podcast, and then you can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Just search Connected by Seams. We're all over the place. We hope you guys can check it out and enjoy. But again, that does it for Connected by Seams. For my partners, Danny Espinoza and Garrett Smith, I'm Seth Smith, signing out. We'll catch you on the flip side.